My name is William Devlin, and I'm making this video because I've decided to stand as an independent candidate in Ward 14 in North Lanarkshire Council for the election on May the 3rd. And I would be hoping to persuade you that it would be in your interests to vote for myself. I was watching Scotland Today the other night, and they were announcing the elections, they were talking about the elections. Particularly the Scottish Parliament elections, but whatever they were talking about, I feel probably the premise is the exact same. The announcer asked, but what are the parties doing to encourage the innovation and wealth creation that we need? And the parties, each in turn, gave their answers, their agenda. They said what they are going to do. And this is exactly what I think is wrong. You see, the first question I would have asked, and given a proposition of anything that we need, would be, do we need it? And I say we because I've got an opinion as well. Only one among many. It's not a deciding opinion or anything like that. And if elected, I don't consider myself to be elected to put my opinion out, but rather to represent your opinion. But anyway, do we need it? And then I would ask, what would be the cost of this particular thing? And we'll discuss that. And I don't mean just in monetary terms, because there are environmental terms, there are community terms, there are traffic issues, there are all these things that have to be taken into account when things that we need are decided upon, particularly big things. And having discussed all that, then I would expect to come up with a consensus of, do we need it, do we want it? Now you see, with the process of information, representation and explanation, this all works fine. But information, representation and explanation is what's been missing. Once again, I'm forced to remember what happened in the Hatton Red Road Clay Crescent development over the last 2 or 3 years. First of all, the community was not involved. They wasn't involved because it wasn't informed. The councillor said that most of the community knew about this development was when the heavy plant machinery started coming in. That is entirely wrong, because these people not having been informed, they couldn't have any opinion to represent, because they had no information from which to form an opinion. And when they ran about, when they did, eventually they got their opinion, they got together and they protested against these things. These protests were ignored. They were crying into the wind. So there they had not been informed, they were not represented because any complaints were ignored, and their demands for an explanation fell upon deaf ears, and they're upon deaf ears to this day. I mention this not to say I'm parochial in the Hatton side of the ward, but because I see the potential for the very same thing happening at Orbiston Bing. And if the very same people are in position, then the very same responses to legitimate concerns will be forthcoming. And I think that's wrong. You see, with the greatest respect to every one of these other candidates, each of them has come before you seeking election. Seeking election on the back of their party's agenda, seeking election, some of them on the back of their own agenda, and no doubt some of them seeking election a wee bit both on their own agenda and their party's agenda. And these ongoing agendas that they have will always be subject to the approval of their overseeing party, be it Labour, Liberal, SNP, Conservative, Scottish Socialist or Scottish Nationalist. They all are representing you secondarily because they're part of a party. I offer myself I offer myself, by the way. I offer my skills, such as they are. I've been representing people in Bellshill since 1985. I offer myself as someone who will inform you, who will represent your opinions honestly, and I will explain, certainly to the best of my ability, what the council has done on your behalf, but certainly fully what I have done on your behalf. I offer myself for your direction. The other candidates offer themselves as the best prospect to direct you. There's a big difference there. Later on in the piece they were talking about the local elections, and they were asking people in the street, are you going to vote? And they said, no. Why not? Because I don't vote. No, it's a waste of time. You ask somebody else, do you vote the same way all the time? Yes. Well, why is that? Because that's the way I've always voted. And you think you might change it? No. And this is typical of what we've got before us. And this is what's got us in the position we're in. Apathy, traditional voting, and sometimes downright wasting votes is what has got us where we are. Where these people are the big parties at the top of the tree, can afford to let you say what you want and ignore you because there's no danger to them. And if I were to be put in place as an independent, I'm not saying that I would overturn anything or I'd be able to make some drastic or radical change. However, I can offer you the truth. But the thing is, if we can do it here, then people can see it can be done. And if they can see it can be done, then it may be done elsewhere the next time. And then more again and more again. But the most important thing for you to have your voice is that you go out and vote. Even if you don't vote for me, go out and vote. I would hope you would vote for me, but go out and vote. Because at the end of the piece, one interviewer interviewed the other one about the situation in general. And they were talking about people who don't vote. And they were talking about people who boycott the vote. I wouldn't recommend that at all, because boycotting the vote is no voting, is letting the same people walk away with the thing again. But what he said was, if you don't vote, if you boycott, then you have no impact whatsoever. You are not involved. And this I fully agree with. People think that because they don't have a say in change or because they don't feel important, that there's no point in voting. Well, I'm telling you that there is a point in voting. And I'm telling you that if you want honest information, if you want honest representation of your opinions, your informed opinions, and if you want an explanation of why such and such has happened in your name, or certainly, as I said to you before, why I have done something in your name, then I would urge you to put your number 1 beside my name in the local elections. With the greatest of respect to the other minority candidates, there are certain of those a vote for whom is going to be wasted. I would urge you, rather than waste the vote, vote for me. To those of you who are disaffected with the parties in power, vote for me. I'm offering myself with no party and no parties in between. And I hope you can accept my sincerity, and I hope you can be motivated to go out and vote, even if it's no for me, but more than that, I hope you'll vote for me. If you want to talk to me about anything at all, you can email this site, or you can stop me in the street. I'm always about, which is another thing that you don't see very much. I am always about in the street doing this or that. That having been said, thank you for your time and patience, and we'll see what happens, eh? All the best. Cheers.